Has Scuderia Ferrari finally mastered the art of managing the Pirelli tires with its 2024 Formula One project, the SF-24 car? The subject of tire compounds is a fascinating one, an enigma for some, but for others like Red Bull, this key aspect has become a crucial strength in the last few years. In this competition, the department dedicated to vehicle dynamics is a very important element that can truly make a big difference. In the heart of Milton Keynes, a cohesive team has been tirelessly working for years, accumulating vast experience in this intricate world. The concept of the tire operating window is often discussed, a concept that, if not managed with expertise, can cost valuable tenths or even seconds on the track. Until the 2023 Formula One season, the Ferrari team was almost over-scrupulous, giving a negative connotation to the term. This was seen in instances where performance remained untapped due to incorrect compound usage, which were countless. Not to mention conditions with wet or a bumpy track surface. At this point, a question arises. Has the Prancing Horse truly learned to treat the tires in the most profitable way? Considering the race at the Bahrain International Circuit, the first race of the current Formula One campaign, the answer cannot be entirely positive. Undoubtedly, progress has been made in this regard. However, certain elements still need refinement. Ferrari is working on this, continuing the measures implemented during the winter in Maranello. The Prancing Horse made the decision to adopt the same pull rod system as seen on last year's single-seater, despite the fact that the internal components have undergone a process of miniaturization. A lot of effort has been made by the Ferrari technicians to achieve a clear targeted goal, namely to access a certain aerodynamic advantage and improve the management of flows at the rear of the car. The current suspension system can be defined as multi-link. In addition to the two upper and lower wishbones and the push rod, in fact, there is a swinging arm called the track rod. This is an interesting element that can be incorporated into the lower triangle or not. It is a small arm that aligns the rear wheel and is indeed a true additional link that contributes to tire control. Let's proceed with the analysis, recalling a couple of interesting technical details that help understand the work done by the Maranello team on the latest Italian aeromechanical engineering feat. Observing a photographic comparison with the Red Bull RB20, we notice how on the SF-24, the first arm, which is known as the forward leg lower wishbone, is horizontal before attaching perpendicularly to the chassis in relation to the wheel. The second arm is oriented towards the rear to limit tire movement during traction. There is also a third component, the track rod, which extends between the two arms and serves as an additional link. Regarding the upper triangles, upper wishbone, the Ferrari car features a first arm, the forward leg upper wishbone, inclined towards the front axle, very long in terms of measurement. While examining the second, the rear leg upper wishbone, it is evident that it extends almost perpendicularly to the wheel, then anchoring to the chassis on a non-visible side at the terminal portion of the engine cover. Although these updates compared to the SF-23 have undoubtedly contributed to more efficient tire management, Ferrari's technical manager has stated that tire management is an area that still requires further improvement. For example, according to Italian aerodynamicist Enrico Cardile, head of the Ferrari aerodynamics department, both in Saudi Arabia at the Jeddah circuit and in Australia at the Melbourne circuit, the activation of compounds at the beginning of stints after pit stops was imperfect, causing some discomfort for Ferrari drivers Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, expressed several times over the radio channels of the two cars. But on the other hand, there is a certain respect for the tire, as the negative feedback from last year weighs heavily. However, the approach is changing. Frédéric Vasseur has been clear, urging the entire Ferrari racing division to take more risks. Why? Simple. If calculated, a risk can provide awareness once managed properly, opening new competitive avenues to optimize the result even in terms of compound usage. The rear kinematics of the red car aims to provide perfect dynamic control of the tire, to limit unwanted and consequently harmful movements. High control over tire movement, in fact, will keep the tire's maximum footprint on the ground constant. For this reason, returning to the previous suspension discussion, the rear triangles are staggered, and the same order as the front suspension, where the elements are easier to understand, is not essential. Another interesting factor in this regard is the aerodynamic issue. An effective vortex structure is quite useful for managing tires better. providing load to avoid microslips during acceleration that contribute to tire wear. The new and significant package of updates that Ferrari is expected to bring at the Imola circuit in Italy will strengthen the aerodynamic line of the SF-24. This measure is heavily relied upon by the technical department to close some of the gap to the Red Bull RB20 benchmark, which is currently considered to be about 4/10 in terms of race pace. Meanwhile, the Japanese Grand Prix at the Suzuka circuit is approaching, where some small micro-aerodynamic updates could be present, despite Ferrari team boss Vasseur recently suggesting otherwise. We are talking about adaptations to the Suzuka circuit to maximize performance on a very technical and demanding track in terms of tires. Pirelli has chosen the hardest range. In this regard, it is worth considering a question. The C3P0 tires that the teams will have available at the Japanese circuit, the soft compound to be precise, will be the same compound that acted as hard in Melbourne. However, the roughness of the asphalt will be higher at Suzuka, and with it, the degradation. This highlights that if tire management with the white-striped Pirellis in the second and third stints at Albert Park seemed undoubtedly optimal, the same compound could cause trouble for the Ferrari SF-24 in Japan. We have seen several times how a car managed a compound very well on one track, while the same compound in a different competitive context created quite a few problems for the Maranello team. In this case, we are talking about temperatures and tire behavior, two crucial aspects closely linked to each other. This is because the energy profile that is inputted into the same tire is extremely different. Therefore, once at the track, measurements of micro and macro roughness of the reference plane are taken to provide indications on the contribution of chemical grip and hysteresis. Thanks to this, a team is able to understand which compound can provide better performance than another. This is an aspect that is meticulously accounted for in the use of selected compounds over the Formula One race weekend. Scuderia Ferrari has worked hard on this issue since the second half of the 2023 Formula One season, when the development of the SF-23 car ended, and the Maranello technicians already started to focus on the corrections needed for the new Formula One project. As always, the sum of the details makes the difference, and for now Red Bull is ahead as a result to small details. For Ferrari, the last step forward on tires is necessary because if at the maximum performance level, which is the push lap, the SF-24 has already shown it can reach and at times even surpass the performance of the fabulous Red Bull RB20. When the Italian car's pace includes a high quantity of fuel on board, the gap from the top team still weighs significantly and does not allow Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz to challenge Max Verstappen in normal race conditions. Points are awarded on Sundays, and to achieve the objectives that team boss Vasseur himself has put forward for the current season, fighting for the Constructors' Championship, this last step is quite necessary.